Let's look at the grid then for the first of our three races. Tom Chilton then, first pole since 2011. He's on pole position for the 11th time in his career, 7th in the championship with 7 laps worth of boost to the 1 lap of the championship leader Tom Ingram. He's going to start second. Chris Smiley third, Darrell de Leon fourth. Fifth on the grid, Senna Proctor, Dan Cammish with 3 laps. Third in the championship, he's going to be 6th ahead of Dan Rowbottom with 4 laps worth of boost. Adam Morgan starting 8th. He's got 6 laps ahead of Dan Lloyd and Ash Sutton, 2nd in the championship. Certainly a man to watch around here. Then you've got Jake Hill. Next up is Gordon Shedden ahead of Dexter Patterson and Aaron Taylor-Smith. After those two, Charles Rainford 15th from Aidan Moffat. Then it's Sam Osborne starting next. Josh Cook coming to the Toyota Gazoo Racing Team. He is next ahead of Nicholas Hamilton and Max Buxton. And then Nick Halstead and Mikey Doble are going to round out the grid. Mikey Doble, of course, at the back because he failed the ride height yesterday. Gordon Shedden having his first NGTC touring car race with anything other than a Neil Brown tuned engine, because he and Aaron Taylor-Smith are running the M Sport unit, just by way of comparing and contrasting and helping the development of the MBE Toyota engine. And as you have a look there at who's got what in terms of laps worth of boost, 7 for Chilton, 1 for Ingram, 8 the maximum for Smiley and De Leon and Proctor, 3 for Cammish, 4 for Rowbottom, 6 for Morgan, 2 for Sutton, 5 for Hill. Everybody else on the 8. Just one slightly sobering thought for Tom Chilton here. His last pole prior to this, as we've been saying, Knock Hill 2011. At which point, Darrell de Leon, now 4th on the grid, was aged 6.
And you can tell he hasn't been on pole for a long time. Look how far back he is from the front of the pit box. He's a good 4 feet. He's come forward a bit. Remember, he said he had a clutch problem to Louise. I hope that isn't going to affect his start.
There is Mikey Doble then, arriving at the back of the grid as we get set then for our first race of the day. Round 22 of the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship. Of course, there's the race to look for, but there's also the championship situation and how Team Virtue and Napa Racing use their other drivers to help Tom Ingram and Ash Sutton, respectively. Right, we're ready to go racing. Last car will slot into place at the back. A green flag is going to be shown to say that everybody is in position. The drivers will then look towards the lighting gantry. The sun is shining at Donington. Tom Chilton is on pole position. The lights are red. Lights out, good getaway made then by Smiley from 3rd on the grid. Demon start as you would expect from Darrell de Leon, but it's going to be Tom Chilton just ahead on the run down towards Redgate. To the outside line goes Tom Ingram. Is he going to be able to go all the way round the outside to clear his teammate? He's going to try. Up the inside goes Smiley. The road opens up for him, and Chilton is just going to be able to defend as Ingram comes around the outside to secure 2nd. Smiley 3rd as they drop downhill for the first time, and then behind there's a good getaway being made by the Fords as they can start to chip their way up the order. Down to the old hairpin on that one. It's Chilton up front. Cammish has made a good start.
Yeah, slightly delay off the line in reaction time. May have been something to do with that clutch from Chilton, but he's managed to hold on. I thought he might let Ingram go through on the outside at turn 1, but no, Chilton has stated his intention, at least on lap 1, to try and win this race.
Yeah, maybe Team Virtue are waiting to see late race where Ash Sutton gets to, and then they can make a call on how many more points Ingram needs. That's Dan Cammish. Look on the inside of Darrell de Leon. You've got Rowbottom up with Ash Sutton, so all the Fords come charging forward. They manage to get past Senna Proctor. Dan Lloyd is in the mix. We've also got drivers on the hard tyre, remember, and the best of those on the grid was Dan Lloyd. Gordon Shedden's on the hard as well as they drop down towards the S's. We'll come to the other drivers on the hards in due course as there Sutton skips across the gravel and blasts down towards the Melbourne hairpin. Look at the gap though that the Team Virtue Hyundais have got on that one.
Yeah, Sutton was surrounded by cars. It was actually Proctor threw it up the inside into the chicane, which is what forced Sutton to go across the gravel. Sutton and Cammish's cars running in the Valvoline blue and white colours, reminiscent of the Ford Mondeos back in 1995.
Adam Morgan then on the back of his teammate Senna Proctor, but over the line at the end of lap 1. Chilton and Ingram absolutely toe-to-toe. Look, they're together. Bit of a gap back to Chris Smiley 3rd, and he's leading the independents. In 4th place, it's Cammish. Rowbottom is 5th. In 6th place, it's Sutton. Then Senna Proctor 7th. Adam Morgan 8th. Jake Hill is in 9th place. Darrell de Leon's had a bad first lap, hasn't he? He's really fallen back now into 10th place from 4th on the grid.
Yeah, it's almost like he hasn't been able to switch the tyres on the BMW. Despite the sun shining, he just hasn't got the car hooked up initially. Proctor down the inside and cleanly through again on his teammate.
And then Morgan fights back, doesn't he, and retakes the place. He comes up towards Schwantz Curve, and in the background as well, the Toyota's going nicely. Aaron Taylor-Smith and Gordon Shedden are not that far behind, so they are looking very promising right now. Josh Cook, of course, switching to Toyota with the announcement that One Motorsport is not going to finish the season, so he's been welcomed back into the Speedworks fold, and the cars come out of Coppice, then down starkly straight towards the S's. You've got Chris Smiley there in that third place, ahead of Cammish, ahead of Rowbottom, ahead of Sutton. So you can anticipate that Napa would like to get Sutton ahead of those other two Fords.
Yeah, but remember, those two Fords of Cammish and Rowbottom are fighting it out over third place in the championship.
Yeah.
At the moment, Cammish is third, but only 14 points ahead of Rowbottom.
And Cammish is hanging on to the place on track as well. Sutton closing up all the time. So there's going to be some delicate management of the situation here. Chris Smiley hangs on to third place overall. So it's a 1-2-3 for Hyundai's, even though it's 2 for Team Virtue, and then a Restart Racing car next up. Fourth is Cammish, fifth is Rowbottom, sixth is Sutton. In seventh place right now it's Morgan, who, having got back ahead of Proctor, has just edged away a little bit.
Yeah, so do the two Napa Fords of Rowbottom and Cammish let Sutton through? We'll have to wait and see. They'll have talked about this scenario prior to the race. They'll have also talked about whether it's important for Sutton to go for maximum points or to try and finish fourth in this race so he can start race 2 on the advantageous medium tyre as against the front three, who will have to start on the hard tyre. But maybe Smiley's going to play that game. He might try and drop back as well. You don't know.
And in 10th and 11th, Aaron Taylor-Smith and Gordon Shedden, and they are using the Toka engine, don't forget, in the Toyotas. Now Shedden as well is on the hard tyre, and he's doing a good job in 11th place, the best of those on the hard rubber. Yeah, that will be encouragement for everybody else to show that that tyre is pretty competitive. It's about 0.6 of a second slower than the medium tyre, but in a race situation that's not too much. It's all about how quickly you can switch the car on as Osborne gets up the inside of Doble. There's 3 abreast there. Remember, Doble started last. Yeah, Doble trying to push his way forward, isn't he? As the cars come down towards the S's. Mikey Doble, top 3 in terms of time, but then he failed the ride height, and to the back he went. Looking back from Sam Osborne's car, Josh Cook trying to drag something out of the Toyota that he's taken over from James Dorlin. And have a look for third place, because Smiley now has been caught by Dan Rowbottom, who's got ahead of Dan Cammish, so that's significant in their battle for third in the championship. Now we'll see what happens for Ash Sutton, because he needs to be getting as far up the order as possible. He needs, if he's going to be behind Ingram, to be giving away as few points as possible, and therefore to help him, Napa Racing need to get him past Cammish and past Robo. Well, Rowbottom was behind Cammish on the last lap, so not sure where he passed him, but maybe this is a tactical play. We'll have to wait and see, but Rowbottom looks like he's going for every position, doesn't he? Here we see on the straight. Now, is that Cammish moving over or defending? It looks like he let him through very easily. He let him through. I'm not sure quite what the play is there, but maybe it's for him to go after Smiley. And Rowbottom is going after Smiley, although Cammish isn't exactly dropping back, is he? So the possible switch between Cammish and Sutton is on the cards now, as Dan Rowbottom then accelerates up towards Coppice. So he's been allowed to go, it seems, past Cammish and gain a place. Now he's attacking Smiley, and we'll see what happens for Sutton. The race-leading cars of Chilton and Ingram still in that order, clear for the moment, as down they come towards the S's. And Robo is thinking about where he can make his move against Smiley, who is still leading in that independence part of the race. Big slide there from Aaron Taylor-Smith as Rowbottom gets up the inside of Smiley down to the Melbourne hairpin, and job done. And have a look at Sutton in the background, because he feints the inside, and as Robo goes through and goes wide, Smiley comes back at Rowbottom and retakes the place, although Rowbottom's going to have the inside line for the next hairpin at Goddard, so he should be able to hang on to that third, but Smiley is not giving up without a fight. And have a look behind, because Cammish and Sutton are together, and Ingram is into the lead of the race. There's been a switch now between Team Virtue, the game of chess here to get your cars as high up the order for the championship as possible is certainly happening in both squads. That is Sutton thinking about a move on the inside, and he gets ahead of Cammish. Job done. He'll have got the message that Ingram is ahead now for the race lead, so Sutton needs as many points, although that looks as though he had to work a bit harder than Rowbottom did. Yeah, and also Cammish was fighting back at him. They were fighting at the Melbourne hairpin and Goddard's, so much so that in actual fact Adam Morgan has caught up to behind them, so I'm not sure what was at play there. It seemed like the team tactics, orders, whatever it was, were costing them track position rather than sorting it out fairly, and Ash Sutton had to get his elbows out and squeeze past Cammish on the inside. On board with Morgan now, you're looking at the back of Cammish, so up into third place is Rowbottom. Now if his car is perceived as being the quickest of the Fords for the moment, then perhaps it makes sense to try to release him and see what he can do about getting up with the Team Virtue Hyundais and taking points away from Ingram, but he's got a lot of work to do, because Ingram to Rowbottom is effectively 4 seconds. Morgan on the attack against Cammish. Cammish will need to protect his teammate now as they come through the S's. Now, Sutton, of course, having got past Cammish, is not done yet. There's another place to gain by getting past Smiley, and if he gets past Smiley and closes on Rowbottom, then there's another decision to be made. Smiley locks up at the Melbourne hairpin.
Well, Smiley did a great job, if that was his intention, of allowing the other two teammates, including Tom Ingram, to get away into a nice, comfortable lead. And Chiltern has acquiesced that lead position, having gained a point for leading the race. Everyone that leads a lap gains a point, so he's acquiesced to Ingram now, who's really just got to bring this car home, make sure he doesn't exceed track limits too many times. And Morgan's now looking at the outside of Cammish.
Chiltern also, there, has done the fastest lap of the race, so that's a point that he takes and Ingram does not. T'other Tom, Ting, will want that if he can before the end of the race. We're on lap 6 of 14, and Adam Morgan then makes that run downhill. The Hyundai right on the back of Dan Cammish's Ford. Adam not quite able to make a move to the inside. Behind the pair, 8th is Jake Hill, 9th is Senna Proctor, 10th is Aaron Taylor-Smith, and where is Gordon Shedden? He's in 12th place now, but still the best of those on the harder tyre.
Yeah, followed by a phalanx of other cars all on the hard tyre. So that's a separate race to this, really. But Jake Hill's now got on the back of Morgan as well, so he's made good progress. This is still on board with Morgan, looking at the back of Cammish's car. Trust me, his view out the window is a little bit better than that camera. That makes it look horrendous, doesn't it? But it's actually a lot better than that.
Now, Tom Ingram, the race leader, has yet to use his 1 lap of boost, and Sutton has yet to use his 2. Dan Rowbottom has used 2 of his 4 laps in trying to get himself into 3rd place and to go after those Hyundais. Now, last time around, both Ingram and Chiltern were quicker than Rowbottom. Let's see what pans out on this next lap as Jake Hill, here after those 2 wins at Knock Hill, has sort of come back to earth with a bump. The BMW is just not as quick around here as they were in the hot temperatures of Knock Hill.
Cammish hasn't used his boost either. Now the leaders have swapped back again, so Chiltern is back in front. So I wonder if that was a just give the extra point to Tom Ingram, or whether indeed this is an effort for Tom Ingram to get the fastest lap by having the tow from the other car. But I fancy that the tyres are probably past their best.
Well, you could see how the switch was done. Tom Ingram allowed Chiltern back through. So Tom Chiltern race leader. And again, perhaps they're thinking, well, OK, Ash Sutton is not a threat. He's not for the podium yet. They might have to switch again. Now Sutton is looking a bit more menacing as far as Chris Smiley is concerned. The team orders the chess game here. He's going to go on right the way to the end. And what Team Virtue decides to do at the end is rather dependent on how far up the order Ash Sutton gets. Ingram is outscoring him, yes, but by how many points? That's what they're trying to manage. So we've got Rowbottom 3rd. He's not really escaping from Smiley.
No, he's not. But Sutton will absolutely, definitely want to pass Smiley, because 4th is the very worst that he would want to finish, and then they can decide whether he takes the 3rd place or not. This is on board with Jake Hill getting cleanly past Adam Morgan before they get to the braking area at the chicane.
Is Dan Rowbottom not escaping from Chris Smiley because he's trying to delay him and give Sutton a better chance to challenge the Restart Racing Hyundai? Earlier on, Rowbottom looked to have good pace and was pulling away. The gap certainly come down, and now Rowbottom is creating a little bunch. Now, if Sutton can clear Smiley, that makes it easier for another switch to put him ahead of Rowbottom.
Yeah, that would make sense for Rowbottom to hold Smiley up a little bit and give an opportunity to Sutton, but he's not quite, he's got too big a gap, if you like, over Smiley. Makes me think that maybe Rowbottom has got some extra pace, not quite sure, but if he could get past Smiley, and he maybe did that using boost, then certainly Sutton could do.
Okay, so right now Chiltern leads, and he has done the fastest lap and got the point for that. Ingram is 2nd, he's got a lap leader point, and then you can see that there are 3 seconds between Ingram and Rowbottom, and there's about 3 inches between Smiley 4th and Ash Sutton 5th, and Ash has yet to use either of his 2 laps of boost. He's trying to do this on racecraft and pure pace out of the Ford, and as they head up towards Schwantz Curve, he's close enough to have a go against Chris Smiley, and there's the gap to the inside line. Sutton goes through, nicely done.
Beautiful pass, perfectly timed as always with Ash Sutton passes. The problem that Sutton has had is that Smiley's got the maximum of 8 laps of boost to use, so unless he can jump him on a lap that he's not using it, which I fancy he's done now, he's been, Cammish just opening the door with 2 wheels on the grass. That's the difference between using boost and not using boost.
So through he goes then, but a rallycross required as he puts 2 wheels onto the dirt. and gets up ahead of Chris Smiley. Smiley still leading in the independence part of the race, which is their main goal. So now let's see what happens between Rowbottom and Sutton. As up front, Chilton and Ingram lead the way. And is it going to be Tom Chilton to win, or is there going to be another switch before the very end? Team Virtue thinking championship, of course, for Tom Ingram, but it's very hard to say to anybody, give up a race win. Cammish back on the tail of Sutton. Behind Smiley, it is Hill. Then you've got Adam Morgan running 8th. Senna Proctor 9th. Aaron Taylor-Smith is in 10th place. Smiley leading in the independents. Teammate Dan Lloyd is 2nd. And in the hard tyre battle, Shedden is still ahead and he's hanging on to that 12th place.
Yeah, doing well, but easier to do when you've only got cars on the same tyre behind you. But because at least he's in the same race as them. Now, I fancy that Chilton is not going to get that fastest lap. They're lapping 3/4 of a second to a second slower than their individual fastest lap. So the front tyres have gone off a little bit. So that fastest lap isn't going to happen even with the tow for Ingram. So it's just a case of now, who do they want to get maximum points?
Now, the gap between Rowbottom and Sutton for 3rd is a 1.5 seconds, and Ash was 1,000th of a second quicker than Rowbottom in sector 1 of the lap we're currently working, and it's lap number 9. Sutton through, Cammish through. There is the Smiley, Hill, Morgan train. Then it's Proctor. Behind him is Aaron Taylor-Smith, 10th, and Darrell De Leon then in 11th place, having started 4th on the grid. So something not quite right. As Tim suggested early on, he was struggling, it seemed, to switch on the tyres, but he's never really been able to fight back. So frustration for Darrell De Leon as Jake Hill now gets a good run out of the S's there. Look in the Laser Beamer, the Laser Tools Racing BMW, to try to go around the outside of Smiley, and he's got his nose in front of the Melbourne hairpin. A little bit of a lock-up, and Smiley gets his elbows out, just hangs onto the place.
But I know that Hill's on the boost this lap because I saw the light in the rear window flashing, and look at the advantage. Bit of traction advantage off the corner, bit of boost, and Hill's able to get up the inside cleanly this time of Smiley, and Morgan goes through as well with a bit of hip and shoulder onto the grass.
Chris Smiley has used all of his boost, so all the 8 laps are gone, even though we've still got 5 laps to go. So Chris has gone hard and gone early, if you like, with the use of the boost, and that might come back to bite him now.
Well, yeah, he's obviously used that to hold that position, but hasn't quite got the pace without it. So yeah, the gap actually at the fronts has split up. Look at the gap between Rowbottom and Sutton. It's quite a big gap now.
It's stretched out by 4/10 as you look at Chilton with Tom Ingram behind. Ting not falling away, is he? So Chilton is leading on the road, and we'll wait and see whether Team Virtue want to switch positions again before the very end. Senna Proctor now comes up to have a go at Chris Smiley. The Restart Racing team has made massive strides this season. Martin Broadhurst working with Chris Smiley on the engineering front, and they'll be discussing the priority, which is to take an independence win and win the independence championship. Yeah, overall results are good. Driving standards flags have been fluttered to many. The most recent, Sam Osborne, as Proctor closes on Smiley into the S's on this lap 10 of 14.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to watch Hill's pace over the rest of this lap, because he's had a strong first half of the race. BMW traditionally better in the second half of the race. This is quite a hard circuit on the front-wheel drive cars, front wheels. You can tend to get understeer as the race goes on, with such a load on the front wheels for hairpins of turning and accelerating. They wear the fronts. On board, looking into the eyes of Jake Hill, the current champion, and currently in 6th place, closing on Cammish. I'll just take a look at the lap times, and on that lap Hill did a 35.5 and a 35.6 for Cammish ahead, as Proctor goes up the inside as he's the next one, but overshoots and Smiley cuts back. Nicely done. Don't give the place up easily, Chris. No need to.
Yeah, he's always been a feisty racer, hasn't he, Chris Smiley, as the cars then now plunge downhill once more. So Chilton, Ingram, Rowbottom, Sutton, Cammish, Hill, the top 6. Word about Mikey Doble, who is struggling to make progress in the Cupra. 18th he is, so from the back of the grid he's gained a few places, but now he's got a bit stuck behind the cars on the harder tyre and some wide cars there as well. Josh Cook has not been able to crack. Mikey had, we thought, made history yesterday by doing the best ever qualifying position for a Cupra in the BTCC, and in the end ended up starting flat last by failing that ride height, but they're working towards a good result now in race 3.
Yeah, a little bit of unfamiliarity maybe with the Cupra for the Powermax team, but so often we see when cars have to put on wets at the last minute, the circumference of a warm wet is less than of a dry slick, and that lowers the front ride height. They just got caught out.
Looking back from Aaron Taylor-Smith's Toyota here at Darrell de Leon behind. Aaron Taylor-Smith, who is a great character in the paddock, having a good fight with the BMW. And well, it's been a tough season for Aaron. The enthusiasm he brings to the paddock is undimmed. And he's certainly deserving of a good result. Been a tough season for him, switching to the Toyota squad from the Power Max Racing. His best race result of the season is 6th, but it's been an up and down sort of a year. Let's see what he can do at Toyota's home track, of course, with the Toyota manufacturing plant in nearby Derby. Leaders go through then to start lap number 12. That means 3 to go. Chilton is now 1.2 seconds up the road, so the switch happened to give Ingram, as we were discussing, the race lead and thus the lap leader point. But it looks as though now Chilton is being allowed to drive his race, isn't it? Because that gap is building. So he's played the team game by offering up a point, but not necessarily a win. No, and I'm glad that they haven't asked him to give up a win. Any win in the British Touring Car Championship is priceless, no matter how many you've had. And this will be a fantastic result. He's driven beautifully. He was 2/10 quicker than Chilton on the last lap. Look into the pit garage. Marvin Humphreys, team manager, done such a sterling job over the years for the team. Good to see him back in good health and a vital part of the team virtue setup. Absolutely right. Tom Chilton then race leader. Onto the Grand Prix loop he comes with Tom Ingram chasing on behind. 1.2 seconds the margin at the start of this lap as Darrell de Leon's BMW closes right up here to Aaron Taylor-Smith in the Toyota, and he's looking for a way through on the inside as they come now down towards the Melbourne hairpin, but the Toyota there with good speed coming out of the S is able to stay ahead. De Leon closing up under braking behind them. There's an equivalent battle, Toyota versus BMW, where Gordon Shedden and Charles Rainford, there they are, look, on nose to tail, and they are arguing over the lead of the unofficial class for those on the hard tyre. They are indeed. Good battle between them. Chilton with 7 laps, just 1 less than the maximum of boost to use, is enjoying using it to stretch his lead at the front. But why wouldn't you? You might as well use it. On that last lap, again, he was quicker than Chilton, but using the boost. Chilton hasn't used his 1 lap of boost, but it's almost irrelevant because he's got such a big back gap back to Dan Rowbottom of 3 seconds. And there in 4th place is the charging Ash Sutton. Now, if he stays there, of course, he doesn't have to worry about the hard tyre going into the next race. But if he stays there, he doesn't score as many points as he would for 3rd. So, which is the better option? Stay 4th or hope there's a switch between him and Rowbottom to 3rd place? I personally think he should stay there in 4th. Sacrifice just a few points for the possibility of having a big tyre advantage. Not a big tyre, but enough of an advantage to maybe win race 2. And therefore take away points from Ingram in that 2nd race later on. So this again will be in the minds of the engineers up and down the pit lane, particularly so now with championship points at play. This is the battle between Josh Cook and Mikey Doble for 17th place, Toyota versus Cupra, and Josh being captain car control coming down the hill in super slow motion there. Right, Cammish here under attack from Jake Hill. Jake having chipped his way up into the top 6, so he's gone about this really well over the course of the 12 laps that we have done. It's about to become 13 in the book as Chilton is heading up towards the timing line there. You've got Senna Proctor ahead now of Chris Smiley, so has he gained a place? He has indeed. Comes up towards Goddard's. Last lap. Last lap, that battle between Hill and Cammish could be interesting because on this last lap, Hill has boost available to him and Cammish does not. He's used it all up. And here we are on board with Hill. 15 seconds of usage he has, but the gap between them is a little bit of a big one. It's 3/4 of a second. Downhill comes Hill. We need to be looking at the race-leading Hyundais just in case there's a switch, and keeping an eye also on the 3rd and 4th place Fords just in case. So the field pouring its way down through the Craner curves on that Shedden versus Rainford, then absolutely together. Gordon Shedden just gets back ahead as they come to the old hairpin. Brilliant battle between these two. These are on the hard tyre, remember, they rub as they head up towards Schrott's curve, and Gordon Shedden fends off Charles Rainford. Front-wheel drive Toyota, rear-wheel drive BMW. Tom Chilton is the race leader. Tom Ingram is 2nd. Is it going to stay that way as they come down towards the S's? The gap to the eye looking a little bit less, possibly. Chilton, with 2 corners to go, leads Ingram, and Rowbottom in 3rd place, much quicker than they were on that last lap by about 0.8 of a second. So he's certainly closed on Ingram, but he's going to run out of laps in order to have a go at him. So Chilton heads out of the Melbourne hairpin. It was at this part of the circuit that Ingram gave the lead back to Chilton, and it looks as though Tom Chilton is going to be able to stay ahead then. He was a winner on the national circuit earlier on in the season. It's going to be an 18th win of his career, or is it? Because he slows right down, he flashes the lights, he comes up to the line, and Tom Chilton comes through just ahead of Tom Ingram. He does take the win. The gap at the flag, 0.6 of a second. Tom Chilton wins from Tom Ingram. Dan Rowbottom is third ahead of Ash Sutton. Then it's Cammish from Hill. Morgan comes over the line 7th. 8th is going to be Proctor. Chris Smiley 9th to win the independents, and Aaron Taylor Smith in 10th. But that, for a moment, got us worried that Chilton was backing off to let Ingram go through, but he was going for the photo finish, I think.
Last place battle between Nick Hamilton here on the inside. Is he going to hold on to it? Looks like he will, over Buxton, and he just gets across the line in front.
He does indeed. So it's 20th for Nick Hamilton, 21st for Max Buxton, and Nick Halstead's behind them in 22nd spot. Well, that is really impressive teamwork, isn't it, between the two Toms at Team Virtue in the Hyundais, being able to make sure that, if you like, the quicker driver won, the deserving race winner won, but helping Tom Ingram as much as possible for the championship. The only thing that got away, in a sense, was the fastest lap.
Yeah, it was a virtuoso performance, I would say, by the two Toms at the front there, and Ingram will be very happy with the second place, and so is the Chilton family, obviously. But yeah, great drive by Tom Chilton. He thoroughly deserved that win, and I'm really pleased for him.
Absolutely, yeah, great drive, and see how the teammates work together. So, Chilton, Ingram, Rowbottom, the top three. Round 22 of the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship, won by Tom Chilton, Tom Ingram taking second place. Dan Rowbottom across the line third, and Ash Sutton fourth. So the gap widens between Ingram and Sutton in the championship. Dan Cammish fifth ahead of Jake Hill, Adam Morgan seventh ahead of Senna Proctor, Chris Smiley ninth to win the independence contest, and 10th Aaron Taylor Smith. 11th, Daryl De Leon ahead of Gordon Shedden, and then Charles Rainford 13th, the last scorers being Dan Lloyd and Aidan Moffat. Out of the points, Sam Osborne and Mikey Doble, who got ahead of Josh Cook on the last lap. Dexter Patterson was 19th, and Nick Hamilton fended off Max Buxton. Nick Halstead coming over the line in 22nd spot. So, good drives by Tom's Chilton and Ingram, and for Tom Ingram, happy that he has outscored Ash Sutton. So perhaps therefore that swayed the decision that they didn't need to switch places at the end, because Ingram was going to be clear of Sutton anyway, and therefore stretch the margin in the championship, and Sutton therefore fourth, doesn't have to think hard tyre for race two. This is how we look in the championship. 22 points the margin between Tom Ingram and Ash Sutton now. But just look at the gap they have got over Dan Cammish in third. He's 10 clear of Dan Rowbottom fourth. Then it's Jake Hill. Tom Chilton is sixth now. Adam Morgan seventh from Charles Rainford. Senna Proctor with his part season is ninth, and Chris Smiley rounds out the top 10. Right then, formation lap underway. Grid based on the result of race one. Tom Chilton it is who is on pole position. Tom Ingram with him at the front, and Dan Rowbottom is going to start third, and they are the only three drivers on the hard tyre. Ash Sutton really with the race in his lap here, the first of those on the softer tyre, the medium tyre. He's fourth ahead of Dan Cammish, and then Jake Hill starting sixth on the grid. Seventh is where you find Adam Morgan. His teammate Senna Proctor is alongside on row 5. Chris Smiley, who was complaining of lack of straight line speed in race 1, and Aaron Taylor Smith rounding out the top 10 on the grid ahead of Daryl De Leon and Gordon Shedden. Next, row 7, Charles Rainford and Dan Lloyd, who's got rid of that hard tyre. He lines up next ahead of Aidan Moffat and then Sam Osborne. For the 9th row, you find Mikey Doble and Josh Cook. The 10th row of the grid, Dexter Patterson and his teammate Nick Hamilton, with Max Buxton and Nick Halstead rounding out the grid. So the cars working their way up through Coppice. We know that harder tyre is not going to be quite as quick, so is this going to be an easy romp home for Ash Sutton? No, it won't be an easy romp home like the like of which when we've had the hard and the soft tyre, because the differential between the medium and the hard is not as great, but it's certainly a technical advantage, if you like, for Sutton and everyone else. The fact that everyone else is also on the medium will be annoying, if you like, for Ingram, because he'd have liked a few more cars on the same tyre as him, not to have the advantage. This weather forecast does look like it's coming in from the sort of Redgate Turn 1 end. Here's the boost available to the cars on the grid. And it is going to be lapped based on the leeway. They cross the line, so 1 lap for the race winner, Tom Chilton, 2 to Tom Ingram, 3 to Dan Rowbottom, all the way up to 7 for 7th placed Adam Morgan. Everybody else then has 8, which is the maximum. If it does start to rain, of course, there's no guarantee it's going to be a consistent track surface to begin with. If it's wet at Redgate and the Craner curves, it could still be dry for a lap or so over at McLean's.
Yeah, we just saw a shot of it there on board with Jake Hill, the dark clouds coming, but they're moving very, very slowly, aren't they? So it could depend very much on the choice of when and if you do stop, and how effective the pit crews are.
And if and when it arrives, and of course, were the race to be longer because of a safety car, it could be wet towards the end rather than where the race would have finished naturally. However, all of this is speculation. What we do know we're going to have is another fascinating race, and you're riding with Jake Hill as he slots into place 6th on the grid. 14 laps, race 2 on the full Grand Prix circuit here at Donington. The Grand Prix extension added on in 1985 when Formula 3000 first came to Donington, and FISA, then the sporting arm of the FIA, said that tracks needed to be 2.5 miles in length, and the easiest way and the quickest way of achieving that at Donington was to use the spare land, put the 2 hairpins in this Grand Prix extension, and the Grand Prix circuit, of course, then was used for the European Grand Prix for Formula 1 cars in 1993. And as the field now turns its way up towards the grid, we have for last place on that grid Nick Halstead. So round 23 of the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship is ready to go. 14 laps are on the board. It is Toms, Chilton and Ingram at the front of the grid. 4th is Ash Sutton, who needs to outscore Ingram in this race. Lights go red, engine notes rise, the lights are out now, and away they go with a good getaway by Sutton, easily able to jump up alongside Rowbottom on the way down towards Redgate. He's trying to get past Ingram as well if he can do it in one move, but it's going to be Chilton, Ingram 1st and 2nd. Sutton is up to 3rd ahead of Rowbottom. Then you've got Cammish in 5th, and it looks like Morgan might well be 6th as they drop through Hollywood for the first time, down through the Craner curves. Good getaway by Chilton. Now, for how long can those 2 Hyundais on the harder tyre fend off Sutton? Not for long, may well be the answer.
Well, Ingram's blocking massively. You can see the lack of grip from the back of that Hyundai, and look how everybody else is all over the back of him. This is a dangerous ploy by Ingram to block, because he could end up getting turned around, but of course Sutton knows that on medium tyre he's got an advantage on lap 1.
And also, of course, Ingram is trying. Oh, drama in the background. We've got one of the WSR BMWs off. We've got Senna Proctor off. That looks like Sam Osborne off the road as well. It's either Rainford or Moffat. We'll check in a moment as the cars come into view. So there's Sam Osborne trying to rejoin. Chilton's building a lead, and the further up the road he can get, the less likely it's going to be for Sutton to get past, depending on how long Ingram can block him for. But look, you've got the other 3 surviving Napa Falls all together. Safety car called. Jake Hill gets roughed up and gets squeezed out over the curb, and as he rejoins, it looks like Charles Rainford behind him, so I fear it's Aidan Moffat that's off the road. But either way, safety car with cars off the road over at McLean's, and there is Senna Proctor, and he is in the gravel. Now, safety car makes the race longer, doesn't it? Could the rain arrive in time?
Rain could arrive. It also gives the hard-tyred front 3 the chance to get more heat into their tyres. I mean, in actual fact, Chilton and Ingram looked like they got some temperature in their tyres, even 3/4 way around that first lap. I expected potentially them to get out-braked into the chicane, but it didn't happen. Here's the start from Osborne, one of those that we know was involved in that incident up at McLean's. He's going down the outside as everybody queues up on the inside defending their line. That's the right thing to do. Gordon Shedden slots into the middle of the group. Off the corner, all is fine. Remember, these guys all on the medium tyre, so there's a lot of bunching up in front of them, as if you remember, Ingram was very loose down the Craner curves and he's backing everybody up. Shedden going round the outside, that's a neat manoeuvre, but Osborne gets a good run at coming off the corner, going back up the hill. It's all about to kick off. Someone was on the grass on the right, through goes Aidan Moffat, and Proctor got on the grass, slammed into Moffat, and took on, almost in avoiding action, I think Osborne went off.
I think you're right. Here we go again. Look, so there's a sideways Toyota, but Proctor goes off the road ahead. He comes across, and Osborne is a victim as well. But yeah, he drills Moffat, doesn't he?
Yeah, drills Moffat, and sort of, it was almost in synchronised symmetry that Osborne went off. Maybe made the same mistake, I'm not sure. But remember, that right rear is the coldest tyre on the car. So when you lean on it on lap 1, especially when the conditions are a little bit cooler, you can let go.
So safety car is deployed. Senna Proctor's car trying to be removed then as the field comes down the hill. Our 13th appearance this season of the safety car, and it's Chiltern, Ingram, Sutton, Rowbottom, Cammish, Morgan, De Leon, Smiley, Shedden, Taylor Smith, the top 10.
This is on board with Jake Hill in the rear-wheel drive BMW, but the start's actually very even, aren't they? He doesn't have an advantage on this one. In fact, he gets out-dragged by Adam Morgan on the run down to turn 1. Tries to go around the outside. Further ahead, you've got Sutton furiously trying to get past Ingram. Watch how they all bunch up when they go down the Craner curves. They all queue up, braking quite heavily down the Craners. And look, Ingram's on the inside. They're all round him. Jake Hill goes to the outside, can't keep the momentum up. Morgan gets back across. Oh, there was some little bit of a contact there, wasn't there? As through goes Smiley, De Leon and Aaron Taylor-Smith. See what happens now further up. They're ahead of the instant behind with Senna Proctor. But he's also getting passed by Gordon Shedden on the outside as they come up to McLean's. Trying to open the door against Taylor Smith as they come down. Now, it'll be interesting to see where the safety car boards come out. He gets, remember, I think he got forced out wide, didn't he, across the right-hand side. There's no room to turn in, bit of contact on the left, and he has to go around the outside and loses another couple of places. And then the safety car is out and he has to slow down. So a lap one that just didn't fall into Jake Hill's way at all, did it? No. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't.
Dan Lloyd and Josh Cook, those two that went through coming out of the S's. Josh Cook 18th on the grid and 12th at the end of the opening lap. So he did make progress, although some of it, of course, was to do with what went on here at McLean. So safety car on track, Tom Chiltern, the race leader. So much for that gap that he built up on the first lap. Yeah, he had a great first lap. This is Aaron Taylor-Smith on board the camera on the side of the car. Be interesting if it was on the other side, actually. That's where all the action's kicking off. But he had an interesting first lap. There's Jake Hill, couple of rows ahead, who we were on board with on the last play. And there's Senna Proctor just in front. So we're going to have a bird's eye view of what happened to Senna Proctor in the start of that shunt. Down the Craner curves, big lift. Darryl De Leon on the right-hand side in the BMW has gone through. Remember, he's gets taken out. Oh, no, it was Moffat got taken out in the BMW. So watch ahead. Senna Proctor going round the last bit of the left. He's gone out. And through goes Aaron Taylor-Smith. That's Chris Smiley ahead, defending for all he's worth. Taylor-Smith finds half a gap on the inside, but elects not to force the issue going into Coppice. And then this, the run down towards the S's. Taylor Smith was involved in that fight with Jake Hill, who's on the other side of the car. Taylor Smith turns through. That's Gordon Shedden dive bombing him. No wonder Hill got roughed up, because they were 3 wide briefly. Yeah,
Aaron Taylor Smith couldn't turn in because Shedden arrived, didn't he, at his door, and that pushed out Jake Hill. But now the rain has arrived. Look at it on the windscreen. The brollies are going up. That's on board with Adam Morgan. Now, will somebody choose to make a tactical pit stop while the cars are under safety car, therefore not lapping as fast?
Well, the safety car is in this lap, so that opportunity is ebbing away anyway. Is it heavy rain? Is it rain all the way around? I don't think we've got that much where we are on the start and finish line, if any, because I can't see an umbrella up here. But clearly around Redgate and, of course, the Melbourne hairpin, because they're roughly on the same line, then it is starting to rain, and this is going to be another challenge for the drivers, because they've got to get heat back into the tyres. It's wet at certain parts, but dry elsewhere.
Yes, well, they know where the rain's coming from, and like you say, it'll be the Melbourne hairpin and Redgate, which is the first couple of corners that they see it. But it could be a little venture into the unknown when they arrive at Redgate on lap 1. I don't think it's too heavy yet, but it soon will be.
And it's going to be Tom Chiltern, the pioneer. He's the first one to arrive there as the race leader. This is Adam Morgan's view. The rain for the moment largely being blown away by the air pressure as he comes down the straight. But Chiltern's put the wiper on. Right, teams are getting the wets ready then. That's Napa Racing, for example. What are Team Virtue going to do? You've got Chiltern, you've got Ingram in second place. The spots of rain are getting more and more.
Remember, they cannot accelerate until they get to the acceleration point, which is coming up right now. As they come up to the line, they all accelerate at the same time, so a very tight restart.
And Ingram looks looks as though he's on his toes a little bit better than Chilton, so Tom Ingram would quite like to hit the front if he can. And Chilton lets him go, and there's contact behind Sutton, got turned round. That was Rowbottom, I think, that clipped the back of him, and Sutton all of a sudden gets embroiled with Chilton. Cars come flooding past, and Ash Sutton suddenly got sideways. It looked as though, as they all tried to assess the grip level, there was a tap in the back, and Sutton's come off worst.
Well, remember, Rowbottom was on the hard tyre. There's a bit of dampness on the track, and he just locked it up. So that was a real disaster, not what Sutton needed at all, and now they're outing the gravel.
That's Sutton off again. He's taken Taylor Smith with him. All of a sudden, Ash Sutton's race that we thought he was a shoe-in to win, he's going from bad to worse. It's Dan Cammish now up into second spot. So you've got Ingram in the race lead. It's Cammish in second. In third is Morgan. Fourth is Darrell de Leon. And it's a very, very different order indeed from that we had when the race restarted. There is Chilton. There is Hill. There's Rowbottom all pouring through. Jake Hill now starting to make progress. Chilton struggling on that hard tyre as the cars drop down towards the S's. But all of a sudden, Dan Cammish is Napa Racing UK's best shot here at taking points away from Ingram and taking a second win of the season.
Well, we've seen Dan Cammish win races in tricky conditions before. He's got a really good feel for this sort of condition. So the rain hasn't come down any heavier now, but it just caught them out, didn't it, on that first lap?
Did indeed. So that's going to be an interesting, love to be a fly on the wall in the Napa Racing truck at the end of this, wouldn't you? Interesting conversation to be had. Right, it is Ingram in the lead. Let's have a look then. This is the replay of the restart. The contact's already been made, but Sutton sideways, it was a good save, and it rather badly delayed Chilton as well. But then there was more to come for Ash at the foot of the hill. It was
a huge save. That car was almost going in backwards. Watch, Rowbottom locks up, tags the back, then there's another little tap back. In fact, Sutton caught the back of Chilton's car, or Ingram's car, sorry, and that almost made the spin even worse. So right now it is Tom Ingram leading Dan Cammish. Adam Morgan is third, yet to win this year. Fourth, Darrell de Leon. In fifth place, Chris Smiley ahead of Dan Lloyd, ahead of Gordon Shedden. So the Restart Racing Hyundais ahead of two of the Toyota Gazoo Racing UK fleet, where you've got Shedden then going through ahead of Josh Cook. But Dan Cammish's move for the race lead. He's getting closer and closer and closer. Here he comes. Then he has a look at the inside into Coppice. There was just about a gap, but Tom Ingram is certainly not giving up here. But Cammish on the better tyre is going to be able to clear him. Coming on to Starkey Straight. Ingram is still fighting, but Cammish will have the job done by the end of the straight. Ingram is right there, though, desperately trying to fight back. But Dan Cam leads. Well, Spencer Aldridge, Tom Ingram's engineer, will have told him that Sutton's had a problem. He'll tell him that Sutton is well down the field, so it'd be pretty daft of Ingram to fight with Sutton's teammate, wouldn't it? Well, indeed, and the championship margin increases, as you see, to 37 points if things stay as they are. This also helps Cammish in his battle with Rowbottom to be third in the title race. Yeah, well, much as we thought it was going to be, this race was there for Ash Sutton. It's his teammate that Dan Cammish that's in the pound seat. So now, have a look at Adam Morgan. He's third, and he's on the medium tyre, the quicker tyre than that is being used by Tom Ingram ahead of him. But dare Adam get past? I don't think he will at the moment, because he's not under pressure from behind from Darrell de Leon. If de Leon catches up and starts putting up the pressure, he may have to, or he may have to defend. But this is on board with Adam Morgan. You can see the rain has abated. There's not much on the screen, just the odd spot. So the drivers will be probably pretty happy with that. Not being on a showery track on slicks is never fun. Morgan has done the fastest lap of the race. Now Ingram second, not falling away markedly, as Max Buxton has just pitted, incidentally, but turning now up through McLean's as we get a replay of Jake Hill. That's Josh Cook getting up the inside, and Hill trying to fight back coming off the corner. Virtually side by side over the line. Hill with the inside going down to Redgate, and he's got the job done. So back up into 8th place goes Jake Hill. That's Max Buxton's car in the pit lane, and another unhappy day for him, sadly, as, look, 3 for the lead. Cammish ahead of Ingram, who's not falling away. No, Ingram's doing a great job on the hard tyres. We've seen him do all year, actually. But down the inside goes Morgan, using the extra grip. He's run a little bit wide, but he's got the place cleanly through, and Ingram not fighting him. So now Adam Morgan looking for his first victory for Team Virtue in a Hyundai. Sets off in pursuit of Dan Cammish. In 4th in the background, you've got Darrell de Leon, race winner at Brands Hatch earlier on in the season.
So they head up now towards the timing line. Cammish will go through in the lead of the race with Morgan and Ingram together for second, and the gap between the top two is 0.8 of a second. Dan Cammish has had his dramas in the past at Donington. Remember a huge accident that put him out for the rest of the weekend. Remember the famous fire that he had. Well, he's also gone very well around here, and this is one of those races right now for which he is in the pound seat. So Cammish looking to try and control the pace up front, but Morgan on the mission. He's there in second place behind him. You're on board with Jake Hill, 8th. That's Dan Lloyd up the road ahead.
Good speed down the craners from Jake Hill. He's got those tyres working well on the BMW. Up the front, though, Cammish, the car looking well balanced, and the gap going out to second.
Absolutely, he's getting away, isn't he? Although Morgan will have lost a fraction of time by having to overtake. And Sutton, in the meantime, is chipping his way back up into 11th place. So that means the championship gap, 33 points. We're certainly not done yet, and Ash Sutton pushing forward all the time. That's Rowbottom, his recovery now puts him 13th at the expense there. Look of Chiltern.
Well, this is Cammish's 200th British Touring Car race. That's gone fast, hasn't it? So, what a way to mark out the double centenary than with a win if he can do it.
Absolutely right. As Sutton, in the meantime, goes through. He's under attack from Aaron Taylor-Smith. 11th and 12th they run. Heading now down towards the braking zone. Taylor-Smith lines up to have a go. Sutton does not want to be overtaken, and he is overtaken. Taylor-Smith goes by, takes points off the man who is second in the championship. That's bad news for Sutton.
He's clearly got some damage to the car. I think it's the car is not as he would like, because that wouldn't normally be the pace of Sutton. He hasn't made much progress at all since that incident, and now back to 12th place.
Yeah, he had gained a few, but as you say, now losing that spot. The leaders go by. Cammish to Morgan, 9/10. Aaron Taylor-Smith, by the way, fastest lap of the race. Now, that Toyota, along with Gordon Shedden, is running the Toker engine, and it looks like it's been a useful move for the weekend. Lots of data being brought back, as well as good pace.
Yeah, very much so. A case of evaluating the M Sport Toker engine against the Neil Brown engine that they have been using before deciding on a direction on which to go.
So on board with Jake Hill, chasing after Dan Lloyd. That's Cammish, that's Morgan, that's Ingram, and that's De Leon in 4th place. Small gap back to Chris Smiley, the leader of the independence contest, from Dan Lloyd, 2nd. And then for 3rd in the independents, Mikey Doble down in 15th place. 12th at the moment is Ash Sutton. That could be pole for the reverse grid race, you never know.
He doesn't ever need it. Just as a measure of how well Ingram's doing, though, the only one on the hard tyre, obviously there are 3 of them, the only one in the top 12, because Rowbottom and Chiltern are down in 13th and 14th.
Although time lost, wasn't there, in that kerfuffle at Redgate a few laps back. That cost them a bit of ground, but right, they got away. As Hill now makes his move to get past Dan Lloyd. Side by side, down they come towards the Melbourne hairpin, and Jake Hill does go through nicely on the inside, gains the place.
Yeah, and they'll have good traction off the corner as well to maintain it. There you see, looking out the back of Hill's car, clearly a good drive off the corner. There's 3 places here where the BMW gets that lovely drive off the chicane and off the 2 hairpins. That's why it's always been a good BMW circuit in the past. Not as good as a Croft or a Knockhill, but it's nevertheless all brands, but a good circuit for them.
Chris Smiley rounding Redgate with Gordon Shedden tucked up behind him in 6th place. Gordon Shedden also using the M Sport engine. And you've got to say, it's given the Corollas a real lease of life this weekend. Both he and Aaron Taylor-Smith well up the order in both this and race 1. Gordon has been a race winner this year, but that was on a reverse grid race. But here, he's up the front on pure pace. Definitely, and holding his own very well. Max Buxton, I think, has retired, hasn't he, in the pits? He certainly made a pit stop. Now, in 4th place, Daryl De Leon is getting a little bit nearer to the back of Tom Ingram's car. We've got driving standards flags being offered to Adam Morgan, Gordon Shedden, Tom Ingram and Dan Lloyd, so they need to be careful about exceeding track limits. Yes, another infringement, and they could be incurring a time penalty. I would get Tim to talk about track limits, but I'm going away in November. Through the yeses they come then. So Tom Ingram fending off Daryl De Leon. Down towards the Melbourne hairpin they go. And while that little battle rages on, Smiley and Shedden 5th and 6th are not that far behind. Adam Morgan, though, not quite able to do anything about Dan Cammish. Dan is building that gap. And importantly, not only is he taking points away from Ingram, which might ultimately help Sutton, he's also taking points away from Dan Rowbottom in his battle for 3rd in the championship. Yeah, we'll save that track limits discussion for the Porsche Carrera Cup race, shall we, David? I can barely wait. Hill alongside, making good progress alongside Shedden, and now into 6th place. Still Taylor Smith with the fastest lap of the race to his credit, as there, through on the inside line, goes Gordon Shedden to get himself back ahead of Jake Hill. Hill was up into 6th over the line, and he's still fighting then round the outside of Hollywood. That's brave, and it works. Jake Hill goes by. Very nice move.
Yep, 2 champions, remember, fighting amongst themselves. Some class driving between the 2 of them there.
Now they have got behind them Dan Lloyd and then Josh Cook, 9th from 18th on the grid. I know there's been quite a lot going on in this race, certainly early on, but it's been a good drive by Josh, as you would anticipate. Very, very rapid driver, and there's still more wins of a championship or 2 or 3 in Josh if he's in the right team at the right time. Through Coppice they turn.
Well, Josh Cook, if you remember on the grid, said they thought they may have found something in the car. That usually means they found an issue that was perhaps performance related in race 1 that he's hoping was giving more performance in race 2. Certainly looks that way.
Does indeed. Now, Tom Ingram's last lap in 3rd was his fastest of the race. Not the fastest, but a personal best lap. So Tom Ingram, there he is, still pushing as he's tucked up behind Adam Morgan. Now, given how close those 2 are, as long as they're not in jeopardy from Daryl De Leon, you can anticipate a switch of pace before the end.
Yeah, but this is still a remarkably good drive by Tom Ingram on the hard tyre. And providing it doesn't rain, he will be on the medium back again for race 3.
He's going to be competitive no matter where he starts. So we've still got, with the extension to the race after the safety car, 6 laps to go. But as long as Ingram doesn't lose that place to De Leon, then you can anticipate a switch for team orders and more points for Ingram before the checkered flag comes out. The progress of Rowbottom on the hard tyre was always going to be hard after his dramas, and he's 13th, and Sutton is 12th. So, okay, he did lose that place, but he's not lost anymore. You're on board now with Aaron Taylor-Smith, who has fallen back behind Josh Cook, even though Aaron did do that fastest lap early on in the race.
Yeah, the fastest laps now, they're a little way off their best times. It's about a second away. Such is the deterioration in the tyres here from the start of the race. It's a normal sort of degradation that you'd expect on the Donington Grand Prix circuit, which is hard on tyres. But interestingly, Cammish is not getting away.
Yeah, just over a second last time, Cammish to Morgan. Max Buxton back in the race, and I think he's going to be lapped shortly as the cars now wriggle their way out of the S's. Down they go towards the Melbourne hairpin. So you've got Cammish in the lead, still Morgan ahead of Ingram, and Ingram has dropped De Leon this time, has he not? The next queue of cars, Smiley, Hill, then Shedden, who locks up, Lloyd behind him. Then you've got Cook, Taylor Smith and Rainford, so another big battle pack going on there as the field pours its way once more up towards Goddard, which is the next left onto the pit straight. Rainford versus Taylor Smith. Aaron's still one of the great characters of the paddock, and he's having to defend from Charles Rainford, race winner at Brands early on in the year. Leader goes by, Cammish to Morgan this time. He's still hovering around the second mark, and Rainford loses it coming out of Goddard, spins towards pit in, and Charles Rainford is going to be able to rejoin, but he will hemorrhage places. Yeah, just getting on the gas a little bit too hard. People think these cars are easy to drive, but there's no traction control or ABS, and he was tightening his line and trying to get on the power at the same time, and around she went. I just got a little touch as well. He actually accelerated and just clipped the back of the car, which pushed the nose of the car in towards the pit lane and exaggerated the spin. So poor old Charles Rainford across the line in 19th place. Leader goes up towards Coppice. Then we're on lap 13 of 17. Cammish leading the way. We're talking about him not necessarily getting away from Adam Morgan, but he doesn't need to. As long as he wins by a thousandth of a second, a win is a win is a win. So Cammish leads the way. And he's got Max Buxton further up the road to negotiate. Good little battle in the background. Smiley versus Hill potentially hidden behind the graphic for the moment. Here they come. Jake Hill, you're on board with him, looking for a way round as they drop towards the S's. But for the moment, Chris Smiley fending him off. And Chris with a car that looks quicker naturally than it did in race 1. Yeah, but look at the speed off the chicane of that BMW. Just puts the power down and leaps forward. As I said, the 3 places where the BMW really has an advantage. And Jake is using it to good effect. He's made many passes into the Melbourne hairpin due to the prowess and speed of the BMW off the chicane. Now the race leaders coming across the line, and as they do so, we have now got 4 laps to go. Cammish has got 4 laps worth of boost. Morgan's got 3, Ingram's got 2, De Leon has got 2, Jake Hill's only got 1 lap left. Gordon Shedden goes through with 4 laps of boost. Dan Lloyd has got the full 4. Taylor Smith has 4, and so does Ash Sutton.
Yeah, so a lot of those cancelling each other out because they'll be able to use them all together on the same lap. But certainly of the front group, Cammish is in the pound seat because he's the only one that has it for every single lap. So he'll be able to make that lead more comfortable.
Dan Cammish started 5th, remember. It's been a really good drive, as you would anticipate, from a man that came oh so close to winning the championship a few years back. And having made his name perhaps in Formula Ford and then Carrera Cup, he's been a mighty touring car racer ever since he came into the BTCC as Dan Cammish, and he leads here by a reduced margin last time though, 0.6 of a second, but he's still clear in the lead as you look at Jake Hill accelerating out of Coppice. Now behind him is the Smiley, Shedden, Lloyd battle, with Smiley and Lloyd, remember, the top two in the independence contest within the race. Down to the S's, Hill turns through the left and right.
Yeah, good drive by Hill. Certainly showed that the BMW has got some pace this weekend. Probably ruining his qualifying a little bit because it wasn't the best day yesterday due to the conditions.
Tom Chilton, by the way, race 1 winner, pole position for this, down in 16th on that harder tyre, and after the dramas at Redgate a few laps back on that restart. That's Max Buxton getting out of the way, letting the quicker cars lap him as he comes up towards the timing line, but they'll have been on the radio, the team, saying, you've got the leaders behind, get out of the way, don't impede. Jake Hill with a big lock-up at McLean's there.
Yeah, he was able to get off the brakes quickly and still make the apex, so no damage done to that tyre on the left front.
The race leaders then are onto lap number 15 in 17. Race elongated because of the safety car here. And as they drop down the hill once more, that is Ash Sutton, still desperately trying to force a way forward. He's now running in 11th place. Taylor Smith is the target. Here they come down towards the right-hander of the old hairpin. Aidan Moffat, by the way, is on his last warning for track limit. And Sutton is still desperately trying to gain another place and therefore more points. And around the outside he goes. And look at this. This is over at McLean's. The heavens have opened and off the road goes Jake Hill. Off the road has gone Cammish, off the road has gone De Leon, off the road has gone Ingram, off the road has gone Morgan. Cammish gets it back on just in the nick of time, but there are cars everywhere, and it looks as though Gordon Shedden's up into 2nd place, make that 4th in fairness. No, Morgan's round the outside. Safety car called. Safety car is called.
Oh my goodness, that part of the track was completely dry on the last lap. It was completely dry. It has arrived all in one lap. Look, and it's not just up there, it's all round the circuit. Rain is falling in the pit lane. It's going to be all the way round the track.
So, as the cars then tiptoe their way through the S's, Dan Cammish did get himself back on in time, but I can only assume the safety car really is because it's just not safe to have them on slicks in the wet like this. I'm not sure anybody got stuck in the gravel. There you've got Gordon Shedden and Adam Morgan still battling until they get towards the safety car conditions. Right, let's check the order, because with so many cars having been off the racetrack, Ian Watson, as the clerk of the course, now has to make a call on what to do in terms of carrying on with the race. Here's the replay. They come streaming up towards McLean's. Jake Hill just can't get the car to slow and to turn, but he's not the only one, because as the camera turns, look at everybody else going through the gravel. Massive moment there for Dan Lloyd behind him, and others are just trying to get themselves back towards the tarmac. Here it is from another angle. Well,
this is the leader, Cammish, coming in. He was the first one, the crash test dummy, if you like, and followed off the road by Ingram, Morgan, and everybody else. A bit further back, everyone's had a bit more warning.
Yeah.
But look on board, look out the back, no rain. Get round the corners, the track is suddenly wet. You can see it on the lines on the track. Whoa! And they all did a fantastic job of actually saving it. Look, no one actually hit the barrier.
So that was Jake Hill going through the gravel. Dan Cammish then, the pioneer, the first one to find just how little grip there was. He was nearly on runway 3 at East Midlands. He was that far off the road. Into the pit lane has come Nick Hamilton and Nick Halstead. Now, a roll of the dice for tyres is all well and good, but then there aren't going to be that many more laps, even if we go back racing.
No, I don't think there'll be enough, and well, we'll see. They're rolling the dice because at the back they've got nothing to lose.
I just wonder whether we're going to finish behind the safety car. You can elongate it by 3, but we've had those 3.
Exactly, so that will run its course. But I mean, we just review the order. Cammish still in the lead from the remarkable Gordon Shedden up to 2nd. Adam Morgan 3rd, Smiley 4th. Ingram was the loser out of that, going from 2nd down to 5th, wasn't he? De Leon 6th. Sutton did improve. He's up to 9th.
Yes, he was the winner out of all of that. You're absolutely right. The other car that was in the mix, I think, was Max Buxton, a lap down. So he stayed out of trouble and therefore slightly tricked us when we looked on board from Shedden's car. So Ingram to Sutton in the championship, 27 points as it stands. The safety car turning its way now through the Melbourne hairpin, and it stopped raining over with us.
Yeah.
So that just completely teases the drivers yet further, doesn't it? And of course, it teases people in race control as to what to do next. But this is going to be the end of lap 16. We're going to go on to the last lap of the race.
Yeah, the safety car, it would be absolutely carnage if the safety car came in and released them in these conditions. But it looks like we're going to finish, as you say, this is on board with Morgan as he came into that slippery bit. Just the drive, you have to absolutely teeter on the pedals, try not to put any loading into the car and just save it. That was Shedden sliding through. He played that absolutely beautifully.
Background, you've got Nick Hamilton rejoining after a pit stop, but we're on the last lap and we know what the order is, because even if the safety car peels in, it's only for the sort of ceremonial run to the flag. So Dan Cammish is going to win, and Adam Morgan is going to finish in second place yet again, with Gordon Shedden in third. They have reversed those places last time around.
I think they were still racing when the safety car came out. The safety car boards came out, so they've just reordered those positions. But Cammish is going to win his 15th British Touring Car race in his 200th race.
He is indeed, and Adam Morgan's going to have a second place of the season, and Gordon Shedden will be on the podium, and as we've been saying, running with that choker engine this weekend. That is going to be a boost for the team and to Gordon, who's had a tough season, no question about it. But Dan Cammish then brings the field round behind the safety car out of Coppice, making the run now down towards the S's, and yeah, as you say, win number 15 beckons. Ollie Collins, one of the two team managers at Napa Racing UK, looks on. The second win of the season for Dan. As we were saying during the race, he has had some bad luck, very bad luck at Donington over the years, but he's had some good fortune. And this wasn't fortune, this was a good drive. Really good drive, but mixed fortunes in the Napa Racing UK camp, as it was teammate Dan Rowbottom that actually took out Sutton, wasn't it? So there's going to be mixed emotions down there. But I don't blame Rowbottom. He was on the hard tyre, the track was a little bit damp, and he just locked up. It was one of those things. Do you think we'd be invited to the debrief? I'd love to go and listen, wouldn't you? Yeah. So here they come. Now, of course, the only other thing we need to worry about in all of this with the mixed conditions is ride height at the end of the race. But for now, let's just call it as it is on the road. Dan Cammish, fine, because they're still on the slick tyres. Yeah, that's true. Dan Cammish comes through to take the race win. Then behind the safety car, Adam Morgan is going to be second. Gordon Shedden is going to be third. Chris Smiley fourth to win the Independents. Tom Ingram fifth. Could have been a lot worse on that hard tyre. Sixth to Daryl De Leon. Josh Cook, 7th from 18th. Excellent effort ahead of Aaron Taylor-Smith, who'd got the fastest lap. Ash Sutton, 9th. And Jake Hill actually was one of the big losers of the rain and the gravel, because he fell to 10th. Yeah, he did. But the last two, 11th and 12th, are Lloyd and Moffat, who are in with a chance of the reverse grid. And that was Aidan Moffat, who was off the road on the first lap at McLean's. Yes. Funny how it all rebuilds, isn't it? Yeah. So the reverse grid draw is going to be a fascinating one. And there, Dan Cammish, race winner. And as Tim said, his 15th career victory. Great drive, that. And even though he went off the road, inevitably, as so many did, with the rain coming out of nowhere over at McLean's, he was also the first one to get back on. The car didn't get stuck. He didn't hit the tyre barrier. So although the car was off the road, he was able to very adeptly bring it back on, as was the remainder of the pack behind. Some big moments behind Dan Lloyd's, I think, was the biggest slide of all, but he managed to hang on to it. So Dan Cammish, race winner. He's going to have a lot to say when he gets out of the car. He might have a deep breath first, but there'll be a lot to say after a lively race. And that, from a driver's point of view, presumably is sort of hell on wheels with the conditions coming out of nowhere like that. Absolute worst case scenario. You went round that corner last lap and it was absolutely fine, and you arrive and the rain hits your windscreen. You see the track is wet, but it's too late. Here's the result of round 23. Dan Cammish, winner of race 2 at Donington from Adam Morgan, and Gordon Shedden third. Fourth to win the Independents as well, Chris Smiley ahead of Tom Ingram and then Daryl De Leon. 7th, Josh Cook up from 18th on the grid ahead of Aaron Taylor-Smith. Then Ash Sutton recovering for 9th. Jake Hill dropping to 10th at the end. In 11th place, Dan Lloyd, Aidan Moffat 12th, and Dan Rowbottom 13th from Sam Osborne, who was in the gravel, remember, on lap 1. Mikey Doble, the last scorer, 15th. Tom Chilton from pole to 16th ahead of Dexter Patterson. The spinner, Charles Rainford. Nick Halstead was 19th. Max Buxton had a pit stop and was 20th, and Nick Hamilton 21st. We lost Senna Proctor, of course, on the opening lap of the race. Quite a bit of front damage. So, another fascinating race. helped in no small part because of the conditions. And for the championship, Tom Ingram now is 27 points ahead of Ash Sutton. We've still got 7 races to go, mind you. Third is Dan Cammish, and he's pulling away a bit now from Dan Rowbottom. Jake Hill is 5th, ahead of Adam Morgan and Tom Chilton, with 8th, 9th, 10th, Charles Rainford, Chris Smiley and Daryl De Leon. The grid for the final race of the day. Ash Sutton on pole on the hard tyre. Aaron Taylor-Smith with him at the front on the hard tyre. 8 laps of boost each. Josh Cook starts third. He's the best placed of those on the slightly quicker medium, and he's got 7 laps of boost. You've got Daryl De Leon on the hard tyre. He's got 6 laps of boost available ahead of Tom Ingram. He's on the medium tyre, 5 laps. Gordon Shedden has got 3 laps worth of boost. He's on medium rubber as well. Adam Morgan is 7th on the grid. Hard tyre, only 2 laps. And Dan Cammish, the race 2 winner, 1 lap of boost and the hard tyre. This is going to be tough, that's for sure. There's Jake Hill next. He's got the hard tyre. Dan Lloyd is ahead of Aidan Moffat. Dan Rowbottom is going to start from 12th on the grid. Sam Osborne, we were just talking to, he's 13th, ahead of Mikey Domel on the hard tyre. Tom Chilton, the race 1 winner, seems a long time ago now that. He's 15th, ahead of Dexter Patterson on the hard tyre. You've got Charles Rainford next, ahead of Nick Halstead, who's also on the hard tyre, and he got done for speeding in the pit lane in race 2. 19th on the grid, Max Buxton ahead of Nicholas Hamilton, Senna Proctor on the hard tyre, and Chris Smiley then at the back on the hard tyre, and with the 4 laps of boost available that he would have had he not been excluded. You take the boost as you cross the line, so there's no benefit, if you like, to being penalised. So he was in 4th place over the line, and that is therefore the amount of boost that he will carry irrespective of being excluded. So it's going to be tough on that hard tyre to come through from the back. However, it's race 3, anything can happen, and the next event isn't until the 20th, 21st weekend of September, so lots of repair time.
Oh, don't say that, but it is race 3, and a couple of tyre compounds in this. It could well kick off, couldn't it?
Indeed so. Right, everybody's slotting into place on the grid. For Chris Smiley, he's way back, but at least he'll be on the straight rather than halfway around Goddard's. Everybody then in position pretty much. As soon as the officials are happy, Ian Watson, the clerk of the course for the championship, will give the instruction to commence the start procedure, and Ash Sutton then in the Napa Racing UK, but Valvoline liveried Ford on pole position. The Toyotas next of Aaron Taylor-Smith and Josh Cook behind. Josh switching to Toyota Gazoo Racing UK for the rest of the season, and third on the grid. Tom Ingram starts 5th. We're ready to go racing. Lights are red. Lights are out, round 24 he's going, a good getaway by Ash Sutton, good start also by Daryl De Leon as the cars accelerate down towards Redgate for the first time. Josh Cook trying to get up the inside of Aaron Taylor-Smith. Remember, Cook on the quicker tyre, and he does brake as late as he can, and Josh Cook will go 2nd on the inside line. It is Ash Sutton ahead though for the race lead, and squeezing his way up into 2nd place goes Cook. 3rd, it is going to be Taylor-Smith, and Ingram is already up to 4th at the expense of Daryl De Leon.
Well, Josh Cook was rolling before the lights went out. I don't know if the officials picked it up, but he was definitely moving, and that's helped him get up to 2nd place.
So the cars go up through Schwantz Curve, but we might well have the start under investigation in a moment. We'll see as Ingram is trying to find a way now past Aaron Taylor-Smith. So Cookie up to 2nd, but that might be under investigation. We'll see. Sutton is leading the way, and he's getting a bit of a gap already. Ingram being held up slightly by the Toyotas that, of course, want the best result they can possibly get. They're not in the championship hunt. They just want points. They want a good result. Ingram's on the attack, though, now up against Taylor-Smith as they come on to start his straight, and this is the run all the way down to the S's. Ingram to the outside line, and he's got the job done. That's on pure pace, and he's gone by, and the start is under investigation for Josh Cook. A false start is being looked at.
Yeah, unfortunate, because he didn't need to do that. He's got the soft tyre on the medium tyre, the softer of the 2 compounds available. Didn't need to do that. May have had a clutch problem, I don't know. We heard the bonnet was up on the start line, but looks like it's going to catch him out. But it's no stopping Ingram. Look, he is absolutely charging. But hats off to Ash Sutton. That's a good first lap on the hard tyre. Ingram cuts to the inside.
And Cook tries to defend, but Ingram has got the pace. He's got the run off the corner, then they go toe-to-toe, but Josh Cook on the inside line trying to defend for all he's worth. Locks up, brakes so late, the car squirms, and Ingram's going to get up the inside line. He's all up the curb, 2 wheels on the dirt even, but Ingram's going to go by, and Taylor-Smith tries to buy into this as well, and he's up the inside of Cook. They almost bang mirrors. Aaron Taylor-Smith goes through, up into 3rd place. Here comes Cook, back on the inside. He's got his nose in front, but Taylor-Smith will have the line for the corner. ATS goes 3rd. Great racing.
Just a little bit too much rear brake bias on Josh Cook's car, so when he braked incredibly late for the the Redgate corner. It just locked the rear up and twitched him a little bit. That was all the gap that Ingram needed to cut back on the inside. But Aaron Taylor-Smith, remember, he's on the hard tyre, fighting his teammate really hard.
And also you saw Chris Smiley making progress there. He, from the back of the grid, is getting himself up the order. The two Toyotas are still squabbling. Look, as they come side by side here. So Aaron Taylor-Smith versus Josh Cook, making the run again for third place down to the S's. Cook is just ahead. Taylor-Smith breaks late. Are they going to get side by side with the corner? They do, amazingly enough. So Josh Cook gets mugged. Back up a place into third goes Taylor-Smith. That's Darrell de Leon now looking for a way by. And just to add to the Toyota battle, Gordon Shedden's next in the queue.
God, all three Toyotas running very close together there. De Leon doesn't manage to get through, but Taylor-Smith does.
He does so as Jake Hill is next up, and he's got Dan Rowbottom behind him. Rowbottom having got himself ahead of Dan Lloyd on that lap. Replay of the start. Watch Cook third on the grid.
Difficult to see from that angle, but from where I could see it, the sideways look, he was definitely moving.
So it's being looked at by race control. Tom Ingram, fastest lap of the race. There are Hill and Rowbottom together as they head towards Hollywood. That's the battle for 7th place. The order is Sutton, Ingram, Taylor-Smith, Cook, de Leon, Shedden the top 6, Hill, Rowbottom, Morgan, Lloyd, who is leading the independents, to round out the top 10. Smiley from the back is up to 17th. Doble, after his travails yesterday, up to 16th.
Oh, and guess what? Ingram has caught up to the back of Ash Sutton with a new lap record of 1:33.62, and battle is well and truly on now.
Battle is on for the race lead. Battle is on for the championship. The two drivers fighting for the crown are fighting for the race win here as well. And Tom Ingram is ready to make his move. Sutton's going to try to defend. He said it was going to become the widest forward focus possible, and it's wide enough to just hang on to the advantage into the S's. But here comes Ingram looking for the inside line. That is suddenly blocked by Sutton, who jinks across the road. To the outside line goes Ingram. Wide into the hairpin. He doesn't need to get the undercut coming out. He's already ahead on the outside, but then he gets run up wide. Sutton goes back through. They clatter each other. But Sutton is going to lead on the run up towards Goddard. And there, Ash Sutton proving he's going to be no pushover in this. Ingram then, right on his tail.
Oh, this is battle well and truly engaged. Don't forget, you have to give a car room on the outside of a corner. That was marginal between Sutton and Ingram, but they know how to play the rules. Watch for a dive up the inside. Not coming on this lap, despite Ingram having better traction, better braking ability on the medium tyre.
Behind them third is Taylor-Smith, and Cook fourth, de Leon fifth, Shedden sixth as they came across the line. And now the two race leaders still together as they drop down the hill. Ash Sutton leaving nothing on the table. Tom Ingram waiting for the moment to strike. It wasn't at Redgate, it wasn't at the old hairpin. It could come at McLean's, and that's not this corner, but it's the next right-hander. Here comes Ingram. The move is just about started, but again Sutton covers off the inside line, so Ingram has got to think about doing it at Coppice if he can do it anywhere on this lap. Sutton, oh so defensive, straight away to the middle of the road. Ingram to the outside,
and then he'll cut back again, hoping that Sutton runs wide, but Sutton doesn't. Now he'll hug the left-hand side of the track all the way down to the chicane. This is going to be a big ask, isn't it, for Sutton to maintain this for the rest of the race. And he hasn't got any help from another fast car behind, which could hinder. Oh, a great cutback there from Ingram. He's got a little bit of an overlap. Now we'll have the inside as they come up to the hairpin. Is he going to pull it off this time? He is.
Race leader Tom Ingram as they come out of the hairpin, but Sutton straight away is on the attack. He's back up alongside, but that's only going to give him the outside line for Goddard, so Ingram should get the deal done into the corner. Sutton's going to try to stand his ground on the outside and make a move at Redgate, but there's no way he can do that. So Tom Ingram does lead at the end of the lap, but Sutton is still fighting. Great racing between the two, and Sutton's back ahead in a straight line. Now he needs to dive across and cover off the line for the corner. He moves across on Ingram. There's just about room for the Hyundai on the inside. Ingram elbows out up the inside line. He's back into the lead, but Sutton is not giving up. Fantastic stuff. He's down to second place. Ingram leads down through the Craner curves, but do not rule out Ash Sutton having an inspired dive to try to get himself back into the lead before Ingram starts to build a gap.
Well, he had probably only had that chance then into the old hairpin, because I think by the end of the lap Ingram will be gone. But unless the extra boost that Sutton has got is enough to stay on his tail. Remember, he's got 8 laps. Ingram only had 5.
So they head towards Coppice then, and it remains Ingram ahead. Sutton in second place, Taylor Smith third, ahead of Josh Cook, Darrell De Leon, and Dan Rowbottom now up into sixth. There's still no more news about the investigation into Josh Cook's start, by the way. So for now, he remains in fourth place, as you see in the background. Chilton, number 3, getting himself ahead of Jake Hill here, and that's a change for 8th place. Chilton, remember, started 15th, so he's had good progress thus far. Getting driving standards flags now for Moffat, for Aaron Taylor-Smith, for Nick Halstead, and there you can see Dan Rowbottom squeezing up past Darrell De Leon. So Rowbottom is 5th. He's heading towards the zone where he might be able to help Sutton, but it might be too late because Ingram's already gone, isn't he? And he's starting to build that gap. Sutton was just ahead when they crossed the line last time by 9 thousandths of a second. Ingram leads at the end of the 5th lap by half a second.
Yeah, without a safety car, I can't see Rowbottom getting up there to help his teammate, who is gamely hanging on to the back of Ingram, who's up 4 places now from his 5th place start.
Race 2 winner, by the way, Dan Cammish in 15th spot, as you get a replay of what happened to give Ingram that race lead.
Yeah, Sutton tried to cut back, but of course that put him on the outside, then coming up to Goddard's. If he could have gone all the way around the outside, which he was trying to do there, turning in, but he just doesn't have enough grip, and the extra speed that Ingram has means he comes out the corner in front, crucially on the right-hand side for the next corner at Redgate, and he's now starting to stretch that lead.
He is indeed, as Rowbottom is closing onto the back now of Josh Cook, and there's a battle there, look, between Gordon Shedden and Tom Chilton. Gordon Shedden is making the run out of Coppice, but Tom Chilton with the pace goes ahead, and Jake Hill is going to be next in the queue. Sam Osborne, by the way, is up into 10th spot, so he's made some good progress in this race as well. This is lap 6 out of 14. Shedden sideways, having to fend off Hill now, bearing in mind Chilton has mugged him for 7th. And that's Rowbottom about to make a move, look, coming down the inside of Josh Cook, and he gets the job done, heading into the Melbourne hairpin.
Yeah, nice clean pass, and Josh didn't fight that one too hard, so there was no contact made.
Goddard's they come. Next target for Rowbottom is Aaron Taylor-Smith, having a good run in that 3rd place. Up towards the line they come. So Ingram getting away now from Sutton, and the gap is up to 1.2 seconds, more than doubled. Now this is what happened for 4th place. Looking back here from Taylor-Smith's car, that's Rowbottom on the inside.
Yeah, getting cleanly through, and of course Ingram has that fastest lap, the extra point that goes with that, and he's leading the race for the extra points as well.
Race leaders then plunge downhill. This is Jake Hill's view as he tries to squeeze past Gordon Shedden. Side by side they run. Shedden skims the curb. Sam Osborne is right there behind them, but Jake Hill makes the move stick. He's 8th at the old hairpin. Shedden's dropping back now.
He is, and Sam Osborne right behind, trying to take advantage of a slow exit by Shedden from the old hairpin, but can't quite get close enough as they approach McLean's. Here we are on board with Osborne. Shedden just in front. Osborne having a strong race in 10th place.
He's not done yet, has he? As now Rowbottom is about to go for the podium and get up past Taylor-Smith. Remember that Aaron is on the hard tyre. Now Rowbottom is on the softer medium tyre. Nose to tail they run, but do not expect Aaron Taylor-Smith to make this an easy fight. Through the S's they come. Rowbottom with a big bite of curve. Catapults up the inside, heading down to the Melbourne hairpin. This for 3rd place, and he's going to brake as late as he can. He's going to get the job done. The next intrigue in all of this is going to be whether he's allowed to pass Sutton.
Yeah, well, that was his trademark pass there, so use a little bit of extra inside curb, if you like, on the chicane to slingshot him out on the run down to the Melbourne loop, and it works out very well for him. But you're right, he's going to probably catch up with Sutton, and then I think he's going to have to sit behind him and give keep Sutton's rear protected, because I don't see Rowbottom particularly going after Ingram for the win, and Sutton desperately needs all the points he can get.
Right, so let's see how the team situation pans out then. These are the gaps, as you can see. Ingram coming into the old hairpin. He's 1.6 seconds ahead of Ash Sutton, who is the best placed, of course, on that harder tyre. Rowbottom is 3rd, then it's Taylor-Smith. Cook. Chilton is a man on the mission as well, isn't he? Because having started 15th, Tom Chilton's up to 6th place, going great guns. Yeah,
really good shout. Dan Cammish, the race 2 leader, obviously on the hard tyre for this one, is down in 15th place. He really doesn't appear to like the hard tyre very much, does he? And
Sam Osborne here is closing on Gordon Shedden. Now, Shedden's on the medium tyre, don't forget. He used the hard at the start of the day and got that out of the way, but Gordon's dropping back in the pack now, so I just wonder whether all is well with that car. We know he's quick. but Shedden falling away. He's about to lose out potentially to Sam Osborne. You're riding with the Nottinghamshire driver then as he gets a good run against Shedden down towards the S's. Not able to make the move there, but he certainly looks quick, does Sam Osborne.
Yeah, he needs to try that row-bottom move of cutting that right-hand curve generously to take advantage of the extra speed.
But I think he's just lost a place. Dan Lloyd, in fact, getting on the inside of Osborne. Let's check. Yeah, he's gone through. Well, not quite gone through. He had a look, but Sam Osborne certainly under attack from Dan Lloyd. And there you've got Tom Chilton now, who's ahead of Josh Cook. So that puts Chilton up into 5th place. Mega drive this by Tom Chilton. This
is a fabulous drive by the race 1 winner. He's thoroughly enjoying Donington Park, isn't he?
Is he ever? Comes over the line. Next target for Tom C is Aaron Taylor-Smith. Just wonder whether after that he might be able to go after the Napa Racing UK Ford of Dan Rowbottom. There is Tom Chilton for Team Virtue, heading down through the Craner curves once more in the sunshine, and Ingram fights the car out of the old hairpin. Sutton behind, the gap down a little bit last time because quicker by 0.6 of a second, Ash Sutton.
Well, Ingram flung the car, didn't he, into the old hairpin. Big old slide there. Wondering if he got some dirt on his tyres, but you're right, the gap has closed down. And in fact, the quickest of the 3 is Rowbottom. He's catching both up.
Indeed so. There he is in that 3rd place. So Ingram, Sutton, Rowbottom. Then a bit of a gap back to the battle between Taylor-Smith, Chilton, Cook, De Leon, Hill and Shed to round out the top 9. It's Sam Osborne in 10th. This is that moment, that slide. He clips the curb, look, does Tom Ingram, and then has to fight the car through the old hairpin.
Beautifully controlled. The car control of these top drivers is fantastic to watch. That's not easy to do in a front-wheel drive car, believe me.
Right, there's Sutton. Rowbottom is closing up all the while. We have still got 5 laps to go at the end of this. There you can see Daryl De Leon getting up the inside of Josh Cook. Now, Cook started 3rd on the grid, and he's on the medium time, and he's losing places, and we've lost Nick Halstead up against the barriers, and that looks like it's mechanical, doesn't it, with all the smoke coming out of the front of the car?
It does indeed. I hope that doesn't develop into a fire, a serious fire, because otherwise it could be covered with a yellow flag. But if not, it's going to produce a safety car, is it?
Yeah.
I have to say, Chilton's drive is absolutely fantastic. Yes, he's got maximum boost. Yes, he's got the medium tyre on, but he really is. Oh, there's oil down there. That's oil on the track. That will be from, or water. Yeah, that will be from Halstead's car.
Safety car deployed. So the yellow flag's waved. The safety car is going to be called for. Nick Halstead pulled off up at the top of the Craner curves, just coming out of Hollywood. So the car is off the racetrack, but the safety car called partly to move it, and maybe the clerk of the course, Ian Watson, just wants to make sure that that liquid, if it does need treating, it can be done so. Give the yellow flag a shake. Let's have a look in replay. Look at the top of the hill here. Nick Halstead with a big cloud of smoke and spins on his own liquid, and the car goes off the road. The barrier awaits. Bang.
I'm pretty sure that's oil, David, from the colour of it and the way it went. I'm pretty sure that's oil. Fortunately, he only makes very light contact with the tyres. Unfortunately, if it is oil, it's in a very restricted part. It hasn't been all the way down the Craners and the old hairpin. So, sad retirement. But the state of the track is also a concern for Ian Watson. Thumbs up from the medical crew, just that he's all right.
On board here with Jake Hill. That is Daryl De Leon up the road, looking to try to make a move against Josh Cook. And he makes the move at the Melbourne hairpin, and that puts Daryl De Leon 6th and Josh Cook 7th.
Well, this is bad news, this safety car for Ash Sutton, isn't it, really? Because it closes a lot of potentially faster cars up behind him. He doesn't have that gap. Yes, he's got Rowbottom behind him, but there's going to be a lot of fast cars right there, including Tom Chilton.
We understand it's the continuation of the weekend gremlins for Josh Cook. That's the euphemism offered up to explain why Josh Cook's falling down the order down to 9th place. So it's been, as you've heard Josh say, a late deal to put him in the car, and just a few gremlins to be ironed out for Silverstone. So there is the oil that Tim had identified, and potentially that's going to need treating before we can get things back on the way. The car's going to be moved out of harm's way. Nick Halstead will be taken to the pit lane, and Tom Ingram, Ash Sutton the top 2. Dan Rowbottom then in 3rd place. Rowbottom could either be a thorn in Sutton's side or his protector, depending on how Dan feels.
Yeah, let's see. That'll be an interesting Napa Racing UK decision to make. I think if that had been coolant, it would already have been showing signs of drying out as well now with the sun on the track. But it's easy to see, and the drivers can easily avoid it. There's plenty of other lines you can take round Hollywood to avoid that.
There's the race leader, Tom Ingram, and he's exactly where he wants to be, not only in the lead of the race, but ahead of Ash Sutton, and therefore taking points away from his championship rival. So the Donington safety marshal going back to post. The car of Nick Halstead needs to be moved. So that, I think, is the reason for the delay rather than the oil on the track. That's an earlier drama for Nick Halstead. That was coming into the S's, so it's been a busy race for him.
I wonder if he got some stones underneath the belts or something, or overheated the engine. That was locking the rears up. Same issue we saw slightly earlier on from, I think it was Josh Cook, wasn't it? When you have too much brake bias to the rear, especially if you brake over a crest, little crest in the road like that, there's very little weight on the rear. So you have to get the brake bias, the pressure difference between front and rear absolutely right. A front-wheel drive car does 80% of the braking on the front anyway, but a fraction too much on the rear and you can lock it up. Everybody still weaving to keep their tyres warm, but of course with the new restart program or restart rules and an acceleration zone out of the last corner, everybody will be in a very neat line of crocodile line when they do come back to the start line.
Let's see if I can drop in and have a word with Sam Osborne just quickly while we've got the safety car out for another couple of laps. Sam, good race so far. You've been busy up to 10th. Good effort.
Yeah, we've been really busy. We've picked a few people off, although I think I've only got about one lap of hybrid boost left. So it's going to be a tough end to the race. I'm going to... Sorry?
You're going to have to make the car wide, aren't you, I guess?
Yeah, it's going to need to make a wide car, and I'm looking forward to a can of Coke when I get back.
Right, we'll leave you to it. Good luck, Sam.
Cheers, buddy. Thank you.
So I think Sam's also got the team trying to talk to him at the same time. We'll leave him to it.
Yeah, didn't know who to speak to.
No, quite. There's Nick Halstead's car being moved. You can see the witness marks where he slithered off the racetrack, and thankfully not too much damage to the car, even though the engine is probably now far from okay. So all of this is just going to add another lap or two, up to a maximum of 3 onto the race duration, and Tom Ingram will lead the cars through at the end of the lap.
Yeah, the Caterpillar recovery unit lifting the car and moving it off the circuit. Meanwhile, everybody drives round at slow speed, feeling like they're just wobbling about, really. The oil has been treated with a bit of dust, so at least everyone can see where it is, and we'll be resuming racing.
So then Nick Halstead's car off the circuit. Adam Morgan then.
Does he ever blink? His eyes always... Oh, he did then.
Just
his
one
eyes
blink.
are always so wide open.
Absolutely, yes.
Even under safety car. I'd love to know what his heart rate is. We'll have to put a monitor on him.
Adam right now is in 14th place, and he's in the pit lane, isn't he? Looking at the background, has Adam got a problem? He must have. He's in the pit lane, so after second place earlier on in the day, Adam Morgan down the pit road, and it's not because he couldn't drive through anything, so there's a problem, sadly, for Adam Morgan at the end of the day, and this rather looks like it's going to be game over, like fears.
Yeah, there was no hurried action from the team, was there? Oh, they're looking under the rear as if something's been damaged, or he's obviously getting a bad feeling in the car about something at the rear. Shame.
Yeah,
Shame.
Absolutely, because Adam's had good pace. Not a winner this year, but oh so close. The team working away. Right, we're going to be up to 17 laps as the maximum then for this race. The safety car, its second appearance of the day for touring cars, still out there, but it might be in at the end of this lap. Tom Ingram, of course, race leader. So if he stays where he is, there are the winning points. Ka-ching. He has got the fastest lap of the race. Ka-ching. He's got lap leader points, as you were. So it's all panning out really nicely, this. And, of course, he's ahead of Ash Sutton.
And, of course, the whole crocodile has closed up behind Ash to make it even harder for him to maintain that second place. A lot of this will depend on what Rowbottom does.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say...
He's key. And I think he owes Sutton a favour now, doesn't he, after race 2. So probably he's going to be a very good boy, is what I suspect.
Probably. suspects. Those words are doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence.
I don't think anybody predicts much of what Dan Rowbottom's going to do they?
Least of all Dan Rowbottom. Yes. So the safety car is in this time. Everybody bunches up. Ash might have another go, of course, to try and take the lead off Tom Ingram, but the fascination is going to be to see what Robo does, either on the attack or in support of his teammate. He, of course, needs to stay ahead of Cammish to try and take third in the championship. He also wants to maintain a podium finish in this race. He wants to be ahead of Taylor Smith et al. And we're about to go racing then as the green flag flies. Down towards Redgate they go, heading in towards the braking zone for the corner. Ingram gets away. Rowbottom has a look to the inside of Ash Sutton, but he also has to cover off any move by Taylor Smith. So we're up to 17 laps. We've got 4 to go. We're back racing.
Yeah, I think that was a defensive move rather than an attacking move by Rowbottom.
And as they come down the hill, he's not exactly attacking Sutton there, is he? He is just dropping back, it seems, by a length or two and defending that third place, making sure nobody else wriggles past him and goes after Ash Sutton second in the championship battle. BMWs 1 and 2 together. Jake Hill number 1 gets past Darrell de Leon in number 2, and the reigning champion goes by at McLean's then.
And Chiltern having a big, strong look at the back of Aaron Taylor-Smith's car. Does get through there, chops across the inside. Can he get an overlap before they get on the straight? No, he can't. So next chance is at the S's, but Chiltern's very much the man on a mission.
And there are lots of people on their final warning for track limits, incidentally. We'll worry about those in a moment as you look back then from Aaron Taylor-Smith's Toyota. Tom Chiltern right up behind him. A sideways Darrell de Leon makes a mistake, and Gordon Shedden's up alongside the BMW, and he's past the BMW. This is Chiltern to the outside line. Taylor-Smith on the inside. Look at Sutton closing up on Ingram under braking. All action everywhere you look on the Grand Prix loop, and now look back from Taylor-Smith's Toyota. Chiltern right up behind him. So for the lead it's Ingram, second is Sutton, and Rowbottom is playing the team game, looking third place. Yeah,
and because of the antics of, I say the antics, but the threatening of Aaron Taylor-Smith, it gives Rowbottom a nice little gap behind him, because Taylor-Smith is busy defending from Chiltern, Hill and Shedden.
Leading independent at the moment, Dan Lloyd for Restart Racing 10th. Teammate Chris Smiley up to 15th as they all descend once more on Redgate. Then goes Dan Cammish, the race 2 winner. He's in 13th place overall, but on that harder tyre, remember, that's going to compromise the pace, although Ash Sutton is on that harder tyre. He's second on the hard tyre, Taylor-Smith 4th, hard tyre Hill 6th, hard tyre de Leon 9th, although in fairness he's just dropped back.
One of the restart Hyundais going very slowly down the craners. Not sure which one that was. Might have been a puncture, but just look, the car didn't look quite right to me the way it was sitting.
Here they come towards Coppice once more. Sutton dropping back from Ingram once again. And now look, although Chiltern's had good pace, he's under attack from Jake Hill, who gets the run on the inside coming through Coppice. And through he goes. He made that look easy.
That was a lovely move. He got Chiltern to defend between McLean's and Coppice and then cut back inside him.
Now they come towards the S's once more, looking back then at the Tom Chiltern Hyundai for Team Virtue. And for the race lead, Sutton is certainly not giving up, because he's closing in. He has another rather cheeky look to the inside, trying to unsettle Tom Ingram. But this is archetypal Ash Sutton. Never, never, never give up. Give him half an opportunity and he will take it. Morgan, by the way, has rejoined the race.
Well, I would say that if you were Tom Ingram, then Ash Sutton is uncomfortably close, isn't he? Because a lunge or a mistake, and it could be contact, but he's desperate to try and hang on. Is Ash Sutton on the hard tyre, remember? Side by side there, look, Hill on the inside, Chiltern on the outside. Neither of them have managed to find a way past Taylor-Smith. They're involved in a big battle for 5th, and they've got Gordon Shedden 7th. Now, Shedden's rebuilding his race a bit. He dropped back further than that early on, and now he's regrouped and he's gained places again, or regained places. Yeah, because he's on the medium tyre. There's a few hard tyres in front of him. Sutton, Taylor-Smith and Hill all on the hard tyre. Other people moving up the order. Dan Lloyd is now 8th as the leading independent. Dan Cammish has gained ground. He's up to 12th. And, Chris Smiley has just come into the pit lane. So, having gone well early on in the day, Smiley sadly pits and is in retirement. Looking back from Jake Hill, he's still running 5th. Yeah, Smiley, who had the left front puncture, that was the car, it was a restart car I saw going slowly down the craners last time round. He's now made it back to the pits. The BMW battle between Darrell de Leon and Charles Rainford, 10th. That is 4. De Leon on the hard tyre, Rainford on the medium, so in theory he should be able to go by. Now, Aaron Taylor-Smith still resolutely hanging on to 4th place.
Not much has come past him in this race, so Jake Hill's going to have to work very, very, very hard in order to do it. He tries the outside of the Melbourne hairpin, he wants the undercut coming off the corner, but Aaron Taylor-Smith knows exactly what Jake's going to try and just has the traction off the corner to stay ahead.
Well, of course, that's the this is the strong point for the BMW, the slow corner exit, the traction of the car, and the fact he's got medium tyre rather than the hard tyre should help him as well.
Over the timing line they come. We're on the last lap then of our final race at Donington. They head now down into Redgate Corner, and you've got Ingram the leader by 7 tenths from Sutton. Then it's Rowbottom third, and this is the battle for fourth, where Taylor-Smith, Hill, Chilton, Shedden is the order.
And Ingram's got a little bit of a gap then on this last lap. Hopefully that'll keep him going until we get to the braking areas of chicane, Goddard's, Melbourne and Goddard's, because that's where he's been under approach. But Hill's not finished with Aaron Taylor-Smith yet.
And Chilton is behind, ready to pick up any pieces. Fastest lap of the race, remember still. The point goes to Tom Ingram and Jake Hill and Dan Lloyd on their final warning for track limits. And you're on board with Hill, and he's in a big fight with Taylor-Smith. About a third of a lap to go as they come through Coppice. Jake's thinking about the inside line. Taylor-Smith knows what he's thinking, and he covers that off as Ingram heads down the Starkey Straight round towards the S's and then onto the Grand Prix loop for the last time. Behind Hill, it's Chilton. Behind Chilton is Shedden. So this battle pack is for fourth, and Taylor-Smith is just ahead as they come through the S's. And again, Jake Hill is on the attack. He's attacking and defending because Chilton's right there behind him. Down they come towards the hairpin. Taylor-Smith on the inside line. Chilton trying to unsettle Jake Hill to no avail. Here are the leaders though, and Tom Ingram is on target to extend the championship lead yet further, to take a 5th win of the year, a 38th career win. And Tom Ingram wins race 3 at Donington. He rounds out the day in style. Ash Sutton second, Dan Rowbottom third, and the battle for fourth is just going to go the way of Aaron Taylor-Smith ahead of Jake Hill, then Tom Chilton, Gordon Shedden 7th, Dan Lloyd 8th, and to win the independents it's Darrell De Leon 9th, and then 10th it's Charles Rainford. Great racing all the way through, and a really important result for Tom Ingram. He's had a great day as far as the championship's concerned.
Yeah, and a flash of the lights from both of them. Tom Ingram to sort of acknowledge the crowd support, and I think the same from Ash Sutton. He's probably acknowledging a good fine race with his big rival, Tom Ingram.
A very emotional Sandra Humphries you saw there in the Team Virtue garage with Laura Drysdale, Tom's girlfriend. A very happy team on the pit wall, but Team Virtue know now, as you get to the final 2 events of the season, how close they are coming to a championship, a 2nd title perhaps for Tom Ingram, and this has been a hugely important day. You can see how happy he is. Tom's traditional word of pointsy has been well used today because he's scored points, but they've been big points, race-winning points, very important indeed.
And Aaron Taylor-Smith, very happy with his drive as well. He's promised us he'd make it entertaining, and he certainly did.
That's his best result of the season as well, and he did that with the Toka engine as well. So there's lots for Speedworks to think about before Silverstone, which is a venue on that national circuit layout that always gives good racing, nice and wide, and a short lap as well. But Tom Ingram then the race winner in the end, only 8 tenths of a second from Ash Sutton, and Dan Rowbottom making amends, if you like, for the contact in race 2 by sitting behind Ash Sutton. Round 24 of the championship falls to Tom Ingram, ahead of Ash Sutton and Dan Rowbottom 3rd. 4th, Aaron Taylor-Smith, just ahead of Jake Hill, and then Tom Chilton 6th, with Gordon Shedden taking 7th ahead of Dan Lloyd, Darrell De Leon, and Charles Rainford rounding out the top 10. 11th, Josh Cook, and the race 2 winner, Dan Cammish, just behind him. Aidan Moffat, 13th, from Sam Osborne, who dropped away towards the end. Senna Proctor from the back of the grid to take the last point. Dexter Patterson was 16th and was therefore 2nd in the independents ahead of Mikey Doble. Max Buxton, 18th, ahead of Nick Hamilton. Adam Morgan pitted but rejoined for 20th. Chris Smiley likewise for 21st, and the one we lost was Nick Halstead. So what does all of that do to the championship? It makes good reading for Tom Ingram. 32 points ahead now from Ash Sutton. Dan Cammish stretching his margin a little during the course of the day over Dan Rowbottom. Jake Hill still there in 5th ahead of Tom Chilton. Adam Morgan 7th. Charles Rainford ahead of his teammate Darrell De Leon at WSR. And Senna Proctor rounds out the top 10.